It's, hey, did you see this one? Special Jason's birthday edition. Everybody knows my birthday is on April 26th, but for this week only, we're going live on Friday night, mostly because I wanted to get a little bit tipsy while we perform our live podcast for you. Most people don't watch this live. In fact, one begs to wonder what the point of doing it live is at this point, because we're episode 42. Hey, what's happening?
It's me. Sorry.
That's cool. This is episode like 42 at this point, guys. I'm very proud that we kept up with something. We've almost been doing this as long as me and Kaylin were doing it, just the two of us with Steve now. I would say we've reached that point. I'm not sure though. We're definitely getting close.
Summer, once we hit the summer is when he joined, wasn't it?
Yeah, but even up until then, we only started doing a weekly show in like July.
I gotcha. Yeah,
you know what I mean? Yeah. We were only twice a month back in the days of yore. Sorry, I'm getting very sentimental because it's my birthday.
Heard it. Old school. Are we gonna play a drinking game for this episode? Like every time we interrupt each other, we drink?
No, because I'll
do that
die
every time anyway.
You'll all die. We'll all die if we do that. And also that's true. Yeah, so as I said, this week we are doing the BASEketball. It is the third week. It's technically the fourth week of Trey Parker and Matt Stone month. Of course, as always, my name is Jason. These are my cohorts in crime. This is a cohort. This is a money laundering scheme. That's why we keep doing it for no money.
And that's why it's in the shape of a pyramid.
Yeah, it's an upside down square. I mean, triangle. As always, it's Kaylin and Steve, and I'm Jason. We'll reiterate that at the end with our very lovely outro. So just to start things off, like we always do, Steve, why don't you tell us your history with the Academy Award winning BASEketball?
I don't think that's true, but
I think that it did a clean sweep of the Academy Awards the year
it won everything, including best animated film.
I don't know if it won anything, but it definitely swept.
Best long.
For me, I saw this movie when I was in high school. I can't really remember the exact time, and I watched it many times, so it's kind of just lost in the. I don't have like a specific memory of watching this for the first time. I do remember seeing the trailer for the first time and thinking, ew, that looks like a gross movie. I don't know if I want to see that. And I didn't see it for quite a while afterwards. And I haven't watched it since those years, I think. Like I can't recall watching it anytime recently, other than for this show. Yeah. Brief history, no real major impact on my life. It was just one of those movies that the fellas liked and we would throw on every once in a while.
Oh yeah.
Kind of came and went, and that's that. It's just funny that Orgazmo of all movies had more of an impact on your teen years because of how off-putting the situation was for you.
Yes.
And this one just kind of, did you see this or Orgazmo first?
I saw Orgazmo first.
Okay.
And I think I didn't go out of my way to not watch this. I just was in no rush to watch it because of Orgazmo. And I was like, I like South Park, but even the creators of South Park themselves have said there's sort of stigmatization between their movies and South Park. And a lot of people who really love South Park are often not huge fans of their movies. And I think I kind of sit proudly in that boat.
I think
this kind of bobbing up and down.
This week and next week, we're really going to be able to explore why.
Well, this movie, I would say, is much better than the last two that we watched.
Absolutely.
More watchable.
Production-wise, yeah.
It's a movie. Like the Orgazmo feels like a straight to DVD thing. You know, yes. Cannibal.
We could probably make Orgazmo on our phones right now.
Yeah, we could definitely make Cannibal the Musical on our phones. And South Park is part of a completely different IP that doesn't have their faces attached to it. Kaylin, before we move into the bulk of the episode, why don't you tell us about your history. I guess I have to give my history as well. So yeah, let's keep talking. It's my birthday.
Talking.
I want to get.
Well,
I just want to be as drunk as Kalen was on his episode, but I can't even get that. I can't even get that. I don't know how.
You have to drink whiskey.
Yeah.
Did I drink whiskey that night?
Yes.
How about this? Cheers. How about that?
Cheers, Steve.
That'll get us well on our way.
Get a beer and stop having a sour tummy.
Or
I think I have like one beer in the fridge. I'll be right back.
Oh, just wait. Did you not want to party, Steve?
Steve doesn't feel well, but
I'm sorry to hear this.
It's all good. We're gonna have a great time.
Should I say my thing while he's not here?
He's right there.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I was looking at the other thing.
I have my earphone in. I can hear you even when I'm not here. I
did.
I had one beer in the fridge, so I will drink this one beer and hopefully it cures my stomach.
I'm surprised you're not. I'm surprised you're not getting Liddy on a Friday night.
Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just want to chill.
That does not.
I remember those days.
I guess you have your job's a little bit more fluid, where you might have a night where you can get Liddy during the week, where I just cannot. I can never get Liddy unless it's Friday or Saturday now because of my new job situation.
I have the perfect shift schedule, whatever.
It's true. That reminds me a lot of when I worked 12 to 8 at my old job. Anyway, we're getting off topic immediately. This is going to be a long one too, probably.
That's going to be part of this.
I'm actually waiving my anal ability to want to end the show as soon as possible after 1 hour and 15 minutes, like I always want to, because it is my birthday and it is Friday night. I don't know if we're going to stay live the whole time in this podcast. We might switch it over to a after hours situation, but sorry, Kaylin, why don't you tell us a little bit about your past with the movie BASEketball starring Trey Parker and Matt Stone?
I was really psyched. I was hoping you were just going to end it off. Tell us about your past. And I was ready. I was ready to go in.
No, I specifically knew that it sounded like I was going to go that way. Go ahead.
Are you doing a bit?
I'm doing a bit.
Seems like it was working on you, whatever that bit was. You were hypnotized by that.
I wasn't. I don't think I saw this movie in theaters. I would have seen it when it finally came to video. And I actually, Steven, similar to what you were saying, I was thinking about that the other night. It was like, when did I was trying to think of the very first time, because it's been something that I've watched a lot and always have a good laugh every time I watch it. Again this time, but this time was a little different, where there was like a critical aspect to it, and that's why I like watching the movies just on their own and then doing like a rewatch where I kind of like, whatever. But when this came out on DVD, and then it's been on repeat ever since, and that's been my history with this movie.
I mean, I can identify with that. Steve, I'm surprised that you weren't, I get that you have a history of telling us about how Trey Parker and Matt Stone stuff kind of skeezed you out as a kid. And it sounds like you hung around with the kind of the wrong crowd for these movies. So you would always get the sort of the shitty end of the stick on people repeating the bad lines. I know what Brampton. Brampton folk might have been like in that era.
So a lot of my friends would quote this movie a lot when we were younger, but there isn't too much in terms of offensive stuff in this movie that is going to end up at the end of the day being funny for the wrong reasons. No, there are a couple things, but it's mostly just humor that hasn't aged well when you compare it to some of the stuff from the last movie, which is just straight up offensive, and the South Park movie.
Yeah, straight up homophobia, and this has some homophobic stuff, but we'll get into it. But it's downplayed a little bit better.
Yeah.
more, yeah.
I think for this, the thing that like kind of had me like rolling my eyes and being like, come on, was like how mean they were to their
Squeak.
friend. I'm
I
like,
think the
and I
squeak
know
thing it really resonated with me last week when you were kind of like, no wonder that Dian Bachar doesn't do movies with them. In every movie, he plays the character that just gets shit, and Squeak is shit on the whole time. And Squeak is like, I even as an actor, I would hate playing the character Squeak. And it seems like he played that character and then stopped acting. Like, I'm sure he went on.
he
to
has
do
not
a lot
stopped
of,
acting.
I
looked
know.
at his IMDb last week, and he's been working up until like last week.
Yeah, because he probably just reverted back to doing indie films because he was done working with these guys. They probably would have kept putting him in stuff, I assume. Or maybe they don't even know him that well. Maybe he's just like an actor friend they have. They had a couple of live action roles for him, and that
They
was
went
it.
to film school together because he was in Canada.
Right. Yeah, that's
the thing is, he fits a certain mold very well.
I'm just surprised he doesn't have 100 voice credits in South Park, though.
Right. Yeah. Well, he has a couple, but also I watching the Orgazmo commentary, or I didn't go through all of it because I was like, this is nothing. They're not even talking about. They're just making fun of the movie industry, basically.
Yeah.
But they pretty much treat him like that in real life a lot of the time.
Yeah, that's what. So maybe
Yeah.
that's just it. Maybe it's the other way, and they're just friends. And
Also, they did not
really
write
work
this
for
movie.
him.
Like
this
was written by two completely different people, and it wasn't even. They didn't even write it with them in mind. They wrote it with, I think, Chris Rock.
Chris Farley.
Chris Farley.
Yeah.
I had heard Chris Rock was. They had whatever. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so it's just kind of like interesting to me that sort of dynamic between the three of them is what's been going on in almost all of their movies and in real life, and it was in the script. So they're like, well, we know who's going to play this character.
But maybe it's more, I wouldn't be surprised to find out that Dian Bachar was like a writer on different seasons of South Park. Maybe he took more of a writing role with their crew. And it's interesting to note about this movie that specifically it not being written by Trey Parker and Matt Stone, but having their energy. It is kind
they
of
rewrote it, or they tweaked it a little bit.
Yeah, obviously, of course. Like the giant swinging dick joke definitely reads Trey Parker, Matt Stone. But what the thing is to me is in everybody's career, whether you be a band or a pop star or not actors per se, but like South Park as an entity is more like a TV, like BASEketball is more like a TV. South Park getting its own movie before South Park got its own movie.
Mm-hmm.
They were so popular but they wanted to like give these guys something to do, and it was like the fame of Trey Parker and Matt Stone preceded South Park right now, and then South Park preceded their fame, and then they got their own movie. Happened with like the Beatles, like the Beatles had movies, Elvis had movies. It always happens where now the Foo Fighters got their movie. It always had like even like bands like Motorhead were heavily featured in a movie in the 80s. It happens with a lot of times with bands and popular celebrities where they'll just get a movie.
You want to entertain in multiple sectors or whatever, facets.
Exactly. And that's very much what this was. And this hit me. I'll get into my history. This is a good segue. This hit me right at the right time. It came out in 1998. And I was a South Park fan at this point for, I think, the show hadn't even been out for a full 2 years. Came out in like late 1990, like early 1997, right? Late 96. And it was just the right, like, I was like 14 or 15, and me and my buddies like had just started a band.
I'll cheers to that.
And all summer we would the summer after this came out, we would sit and watch this movie, like finish the movie and then hit rewind and then watch it again. And my two buddies who I would do that with actually took it one step further, and they were the kind of people that could quote this movie. Like they would just be saying the movie while we were watching it the whole time because they watched it even more. I know, Steve, you would hate that. But when you're like 15, that's impressive. I had moved to the city. They hung out together because they went to junior high and high school together. So it was like they'd, hang out at lunchtime and just put this movie on, or hang out after school, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, it just hit at the right time. and it was one of my favorite movies for many years. And I put it in that small group of movies I've seen a million times, and the other movies are like Half Baked and the original Matrix.
Yeah.
Where these are movies that would, I know
it's like a
one of
3-year
these
period
things,
of time. You're just like stuck in the late 90s.
one of these things is not like the others as well.
No. The Matrix is trippy if you're fucking high and shit. That makes sense.
It's trippy if you're not high.
It's true.
It's a trippy movie.
But there isn't a lot of high philosophy in Half Baked or BASEketball, where the Matrix is like a fucking 4-movie long philosophy.
It's a different type of high philosophy.
It's high, like, oh, what's up? It's 420, man. That kind of high philosophy. But BASEketball, I'm gonna rate abnormally high. I also I kind of have a weird thing where I'm gonna go a little bit lower than I wanted to, because I did watch Batman this week, as you guys did as well. And I finished Apocalypse.
Talk about that. That was a sick movie.
I finished Apocalypse Now today, which took me 5 sittings to get through.
How do you say that word? Redux or redo or
Redux?
Yeah.
I've only seen Apocalypse Now Redux, so I don't even know. There are some scenes where it feels like maybe that
like the 5-hour version.
It's 3
hours
and
the full
15
one.
minutes.
It's the full one.
Yeah.
Also, side note: can we squeeze in Batman in the near future somehow? In the next, not like we finish off this, but
later, maybe in a blockbuster.
Or Steven, if you want to change your, oh no, never mind.
I would talk about Batman, but I don't want
to changing my month to Batman month. Fuck that.
Just watch all the Batman movies somehow in all of them in 1 month, like Batman.
Or if you want to get rid of one Stephen King and Batman.
Anyway. So now.
No, after that, because we don't have anything scheduled after that. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm gonna do.
Actually, I'm not sorry. I take it back. You know what? I do? I cheers to it. I'll cheers to that.
I am vengeance.
I didn't like that. Did you like the vengeance thing?
It's my favorite part of the movie. And I'm so glad he did it right at the beginning, because then I was like, I'm in.
I like the Penguin called him Vengeance all the time. Like,
hey, vengeance! What's going on, vengeance? Yeah, and Catwoman is basically Deadpool in that movie. Anyway, so I'm gonna do the plot now. And okay, Steve, don't give me that look. What do you?
I was thinking about what you meant by Catwoman.
Yeah, Deadpool.
I was like,
I was trying to think of that too. What do you mean?
She breaks the fourth wall a lot, and she says all the things.
What? How?
The way that she talks to Batman.
She's not talking to the audience, though. She's not turning to the camera and
no.
like, hey, audience, can you believe Batman?
I know, but everything she says is kind of fourth wall breaking. It's very meta. She's a very meta version of Catwoman.
It's like the audience is Batman.
No, like we're Catwoman, saying funny lines to Batman about how it's ridiculous that he's Batman. Anyway, this isn't a podcast. This is going to be the podcast, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is going to be the podcast.
I just think that no. That's not breaking the fourth wall. Anyway, okay.
I think if you put a character in a movie that is very meta, it breaks the fourth wall. It's not literally talking to the audience.
No, you have to break the fourth wall.
Breaking the fourth wall is when you directly are commenting to the audience. Like if you're aware the audience is there kind of thing. That's what breaking the fourth wall is.
Okay,
like
so
at the end of Ferris Bueller. At the end of Ferris Bueller, you guys are still here. What are you still doing here?
Yeah. But in this movie, when Trey Parker says, I'm not a cello like you. I'm not in major motion pictures.
That was a little hat tip.
And then he goes like, that's the kind of meta fourth wall breaking. It's dramatic irony. That's what it is. Anyway, this is a podcast about
like, oh, you sell out. Oh, you're gonna make a big Hollywood movie now.
Yeah, and then he goes like this.
Where have I heard that before?
I'm gonna do the plot.
Still not breaking the fourth wall. Anyway,
the faster
go ahead.
we get through the plot, the faster we'll be able to talk about this movie more. So you guys could interrupt me for an hour, or I can read the plot of the movie, and we can.
So back to Batman.
I'm vengeance. I'm Karen's favorite part of the movie. I'm vengeance. Joe Cooper and Doug Ream are two slackers and lifelong best friends. Gate crash a high school reunion, and are shunned by their class.
Yeah, what have you been doing lately? Playing. Hanging out, playing Nintendo.
You guys still hanging out, playing Nintendo? No, actually, I'm training for the Olympic team.
Yeah.
What are you up to?
That guy was the guy in Orgazmo. He was the other Mormon. I noticed. I was like, that's the other Mormon.
Nice. I didn't pick up on
I
that.
think he is one of Trey
Ooh,
Parker's
yeah,
like,
nice, good call.
long-time friends
Could
in
be.
real life. I think that's what
I
it
would
is
do
there.
that. I'd have you guys on my movie if I ever made one.
We're
If you guys
making
would
it.
be in it.
This is the movie, Kaylin. This is it.
We're literally
It's already
filming
happening.
ourselves right now.
We have 3 viewers. It's awesome.
Oh, these could be little segues into a more structured story of a movie.
Yeah. They find themselves outside drinking beer and shooting a basketball when 2 classmates challenge them to a game. After seeing that their opponents are very good at basketball, they say they will only play a game they picked up on the streets. While secretly,
Is this on the
inventing
back of the DVD?
rules- No, it's in Wikipedia. While secretly inventing the rules as they play based on both basketball and baseball. And it's not. No, it's not like horse.
No.
After winning, they decide to refine the rules of the game, and Coop makes the first basketball out of a lazy boy chair. Their friend Kenny Squeak Scolari, aka Little Bitch, I put that in there. I swear to God, if you guys call me Little Bitch 13 or 14 more times, if you guys rag on me 13 or 14 more times, I'm out of here.
I'm out of here.
His
His little cardboard box.
Yeah. You couldn't get a girl if you had $100 bill hanging out of your fly. Squeak tags along, and the sport becomes very popular in the neighborhood over the next 6 months.
I was more sympathetic to Squeak this time around. I will definitely agree with you there, Steven.
After us talking about it so
Steven sounds weird. What kind of
You can call me
inflection?
Steve. I don't have a preference. Like it's
I've been
fine.
calling him
Call me
Steve the whole time. I think it's okay.
Well, what should I emphasize? The Steve or
You've
the,
asked me
the,
this same question already on one of the episodes, and it does not matter. Just my
Did
name
I?
is Steve or Steven. Yes, we've had this
Word.
conversation before.
I'll
I'll
invest
cheers
with
to that.
May.
I'll cheers
Hello.
to that. I'll cheers to that.
Oh, Mary.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers to pronouncing one of the
Cheers.
easiest names to pronounce on planet Earth.
Yeah, and this
Yeah,
whole
but-
time you've
yeah,
been
but-
pronouncing my name incorrect. It's Jesson.
It's Asen. The J is silent.
Is that French? Is that
It's
French?
Jason.
Jesson. With 3 poems.
Oh, is that
Um,
European?
European. I'm a peon too. It's
Mhm.
high comedy, friend.
Hey, have you guys ever noticed that you could pee in the middle of the street a lot easier than you can pee at a urinal if someone comes in?
Businessman Ted Denslow meets Coop and Reamer and proposes the creation of the National Basketball League, or the NBL, along with numerous rules in place to prevent its decline. Teams cannot switch cities, players cannot be traded, individuals cannot make money via corporate sponsorship deals. And
I did like that social commentary on like capitalism.
Do you know what's crazy about that intro? I remember in the late 90s, it wasn't like there were still arenas that weren't named after companies. And I remember thinking that'll never happen. That this is a ridiculous future. And it
I was
came
at the
true.
Rogers Center last week.
Exactly. Every single place is named after a corporation now. It's fucking nuts. It happened shortly after this movie came out. I'm not saying this is not like a modern recent thing. But it is very real. And all of the things that they're talking about, that's what happens. Basically, sports stars are just hired guns who get traded around.
That guy who was the player, was he a football player? I can't remember what he was a player of, but that guy is his voice immediately. I was like, this guy's a voice actor who's been in like a million things because he's
at the end.
No, the guy at the very beginning.
When he's on the.
I'm so happy to be here in Miami, and they're like,
oh,
Minnesota.
Yeah. That was a fun little. I had a nice little laugh at that one. Yeah.
And it's completely open to anyone who wants to play, with Denzel stating that anyone can be a sports hero. Coop is reluctant, but ultimately accepts the opportunity. 5 years later, the NBL is in full swing. It's crazy that this sport rises to popularity so hard and so fast, but the arenas that they're in are like 5,000 person arenas when they clearly show them in like full baseball stadiums. Anyway, we're gonna get into the
probably a
of
budgetary
basketball.
thing, I think.
Oh, absolutely. And CGI was not there yet to make it look any bigger, and we'll get into that.
You see that hot dog?
Yeah, you see that pineapple? 5 years later,
What pineapple? Whoa! What pineapple?
we'll get into it. The NBL is in full
But we
swing.
just got to it.
The pineapple. It's at the end
Well, why are you talking about it now then?
because we were.
Oh, right, because we were talking about things that stood out because of technology.
I swear to God.
What are you
Sounds
gonna
like
tell
Kaelin's
him?
operating on that half-baked philosophy right now. So
I'm supposed to be the drunk one. It's my birthday.
Okay, I'll cheers to that.
Oh my God, is this?
Well, I gotta get you instigated somehow. That's the only way you're gonna.
I haven't
get
even
there.
taken a sip every time they even cheers.
Oh! Oh!
oh, very good. Oh, now I feel like I should
Okay.
order beer. to
Order
be
beer.
delivered to my
Yeah,
home.
do it.
Order beer.
Steven.
All right, I'm gonna drop out of the Instagram for a moment.
Cool.
I guess you have to. Yeah, we'll
it's
be here.
cool. It's cool. We're the main.
What did it do? Just pause for a minute.
The main version of the podcast is the Zoom call. Sorry, TikTok. Shots fired. Denslow is the owner of fan stadiums and a major championship, the Denslow Cup. Denslow is the owner of the Milwaukee Bears, Coop and Reamer's team. During the championship game, Denslow dies from choking on a hot dog, causing Coop to miss his shot and costing the Bears the game. He'll be right back. Denslow.
I'm still hearing this one.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I can hear you.
Man, I'm sure glad that Steve is gone. He dies from choking on a hot dog, causing Coop to miss the shot
see him anymore.
and costing the Bears the game. Denslow's will names Coop the owner of the Bears for 1 year on the condition that if they win the next Denslow Cup, they have to win the next Denslow Cup. Otherwise, ownership reverts to Denslow's widow Yvette. Coop and Raymer then meet Jenna Reed, head of the Dream Come True Foundation, and Joey, one of the children in her care, and a passionate fan of BASEketball.
I just sent you a request to join back to the Instagram.
Okay.
Word.
Welcome back. Go live with Booby
Welcome
Black
back.
Food.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Excuse me. This is
Nice.
Burpcast 9/11. Otherwise, ownership reverts to Denslow's widow, Yvette. Coop and Reamer then meet Jen. Okay. And Joey, one of the children in her care and a passionate fan of BASEketball. Coop, Reamer, and Squeak begin spending time with the two, and Coop eventually forms a relationship with Jenna.
Excuse me.
Meanwhile, Baxter Kane, owner of the Dallas Felons, wants to remove Denslow's rules preventing monetization of the sport. But
Can we acknowledge those what's it called when the Kansas shuffle when you look right and they go left? It's like what did he say? Something about laying carpet. Something about
misdirect.
Misdirect, exactly.
He's like, why don't you come by later and help me lay some carpet? And then it cuts to Jenna Jameson, who's got like a halter top kind of dress on. It looks like she's, banging, and it zooms out and she's literally
buff the lobby.
Yeah, and then
polish the knob.
Well, now she sits down and she's like, I got the chrome off of this knob, but then she also has lipstick, like chrome lipstick on, so like
she was sucking it.
Yeah, she sucked it off their mouth.
That joke.
So what did he say though? Because he would have said, polish my knobs or something, right?
No, she would. There's a saying that is like you could suck the chrome off of a tailgate or something. That's like there's like a.
Okay.
Yeah. So yes. So Coop refuses to accept any changes. Kane partners with Yvette as he tries to make the Bears lose the next Denslow Cup, so she will own the team. However, the Bears still continue winning games and heading towards the championship. Kane approaches Reamer, telling him that he made an offer to Coop, but Coop refused without telling Reamer. Reamer confronts Coop about what Kane told him, and Coop quickly compromises by declaring Reamer
riveting, Jason. I'm riveted.
I don't think you are. This is like when you're reading the Odyssey, honestly.
Some people find the Odyssey riveting.
I've only got 2 paragraphs left. I'm trying to do this as fast as possible. You guys not?
Yeah, I know, but I'm adding to it. I'm making it riveting.
I find it absolutely riveting. Later, that's an
Riveting.
Office reference. Later,
Corduroy.
Kane cuts the funding to Jenna's foundation in an attempt to get Coop and Reamer to adopt a clothing line. Coop is against it, but Reamer agrees and becomes conceited with his newfound A-list status. After the semifinals, Kane informs Coop and Reamer that the clothing line has been produced through child labor in Calcutta. If the public finds out, the team and Jenna's foundation will be ruined. Kane blackmails Coop and Reamer into losing or forfeiting the Denslow Cup game, or he will inform the public. Jenna learns about the scandal and breaks up with Coop as Coop and Reamer blame each other for the controversy with their big swinging dongs.
Ugh. Welcome to Burp the podcast.
Hey, it takes a lot to read and drink.
That probably hurt having a dick that big.
I couldn't stop thinking about how like having a dick that long does nothing for anyone.
It's just like, an inconvenience for everybody involved.
Yeah,
you can't even have good sex because only like a small portion of your penis is experienced the sex, and the rest
you would
of your
literally
penis
be 5 feet away from your partner,
or whatever, experiencing the whatever
from your partner. And also, if you get an erection, you fucking will pass out. With their friendship dissolved,
yeah, the blood.
Yeah, if with their friendship dissolved,
I bet it probably couldn't even stand up. I bet it would just be, do you know what I mean? Like it would be. You know what I mean? Instead of like.
Coop goes to Calcutta. I've almost called him Co-op this whole time because it's written Co-op. Coop goes to Calcutta aiming to resolve the situation by replacing the child workers with adults. Making it back to the championship game just as it begins, Coop and Reamer still argue with each other over the fact that the Bears are losing. But the 7-inning stretch, the Bears are down 16-0. Having had enough of Coop and Reamer's feuding, Squeak gives the stadium an impassioned speech, reminding Coop and Reamer where they come from, how much they changed everyone's lives, and what they risk losing. Motivated, Coop and Reamer reconcile their differences. That's a light way of putting what happens. As Yvette, who moved by
they smooch each other.
They do a smooch, like friends smooch.
They do a friendly kiss.
Also moved by Squeak's speech, breaks off her alliance with Kane. After shifting their focus back in the game, they are poised to win when Coop's lazy boy pops. Coop is crestfallen until Joey brings him a new BASEketball made from a Barca lounger. After a risky last throw, they win the Denslow Cup. Jenna and Coop reconcile as Yvette makes it with Reamer, and the both of them skate around the stadium with their new trophy. And what I have to wonder is, since they never made a sequel to this, nor really could they, I guess they could, it would probably suck. But what happens in this universe? Do the Bears just win every season forever? Do they have just a storied history or does BASEketball just cease to exist after this whole debacle? That's what I was thinking of after I was finished watching the movie. Which brings us to a new segment I'd like to call, what happened in this universe after this movie ended?
Oh no.
Everyone got turned into puppets and it became Team America.
It went back to the driveways. It went back to the driveways, and it was still international, but played on driveways. And so if you had a crowd, it would just be like around someone's driveway.
I think.
Also, I forgot my bit. I forgot to make note of the title.
Oh, I think they say it real early in the movie, though.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they do too. But I fucked up. I'm sad.
You son of a bitch.
I fucked up.
No, okay. No. I know
I'll find out right now.
No. I know exactly when they say it. They say it at the reunion.
Yeah, but I have to say the time.
It's like 5 minutes.
It's
like 5 minutes, 17 seconds.
I'm gonna challenge you.
Okay.
It's about 1 minute after Matt Stone is licking a dildo.
Yeah. Here, I'm gonna
literally. What British mom's pubic hairs.
Oh, another one. I'm gonna literally just figure this out right now, because while Steve tells us, hey, what do you think happened in this universe after the movie was over? The newest segment here on Hey, did you see this one? That's the whole title.
I think it would probably be like a like an XFL situation where like it went on for a couple of years and then people got tired of the shtick and then it got purchased by like, you know, a corporation would probably have bought it and tried to turn it into something and it would have failed and disappeared.
Netflix. Yeah. I could see Netflix buying this.
Yeah. I could see them making a shitty sequel without Trey Parker and Matt Stone, like for its 30
yeah, like the Dumb and
anniversary.
Dumber sequel or something.
Yeah, where they're kids.
They
somehow.
Oh man, where they're kids, that one was good.
Okay, so it was not. It was awful.
No. It was actually good. Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah, I know what movie you're talking about. It was not a good movie.
Yeah.
No,
it's not like Horse.
You need to watch it through its own, lens.
I watched it really, really stoned out of my mind as a teenager when it came out in the movie theater, and I did not think it was funny. So that's like the time you think.
I mean, that kind of sounds like the key. The key equation for the optimal.
Yeah, but at the end, I was like, I guess Bob Saget thinking everything was covered in shit was kind of funny.
Yeah, that shit was pretty good.
Okay, I don't think.
Are you looking something up, or are we interrupting you?
No, I'm watching the movie again.
Oh, you're trying to find out the time?
I actually don't think they say it in. I think
no, they don't say it during the party because they're making it up as they go. They wouldn't have come up with a name until they had to, right?
I thought that they said that it's like baseball rules, but it's called BASEketball. It's from the streets. But also, the announcer at the very, very beginning of the movie might say it too. So let's say within the first 10 minutes.
You mean Charlton Heston? You're talking about Charlton Heston?
Yes.
Did you guys see the end credit?
Was that Charlton Heston? Who was was Charlton Heston
or whatever?
Also the explosives guy? Because that guy looked like an old school actor. Looked like James Brolin, but James Brolin wasn't even that old when this movie came out.
You mean Josh Brolin?
No, James Brolin, like his dad. His dad, who is on that sitcom.
That one.
Where it's like Modern Family, but edgier.
Modern Family was pretty good.
Edgier.
Edgier? How edgy? How many edges?
Well,
like
it was
sharper.
It was like the gimmick was that it was like 3 different stories. 3 different stories per episode. What's up? You're interrupting my podcast.
Who?
Just kidding.
Oh.
Do you want to come?
Is that the missus?
Yeah, do you want to come be on it? I'm on this screen.
Is that the missus?
Poke your face in.
Jason only lives with one person. Hello.
You're not interrupting at all. What did you feel about this movie? Can you hear us?
I felt like Jason watched it without me.
Aww.
It's as you do.
Have you seen it before?
Like ages ago. I don't really remember it. Due for a rewatch, I guess. Pending your review.
Well, I'm going to review it highly because it's one of my favorite comedies of all time.
It's going to be a good one.
The show's gone off the rails.
Oh, really?
A little bit.
It's wild. It's your birthday.
It's my birthday. It's my birthday episode. We have an all-time low viewership because it's Friday night and people have better things to do.
What? Like what?
I don't know. It's like post-COVID now. Steve hasn't said anything in like a while. What are you even doing?
I was just trying to look up the if Charlton has. I don't remember the explosives guy. I was watching this while working, so a couple of the visual gags kind of passed me by. But who cares?
Yeah. See, I realized as soon as I finished this movie that 45 minutes of this podcast will be like, I liked it, I didn't like it. And then we'll talk about, what happened in the movie.
The thing is that I didn't like it or not like it. It was just kind of like, okay, yeah, I've seen this. Okay, these are funny gags. But like, the story is pretty cookie cutter in terms of like, oh, sorry, someone's at my door.
The beer's there already?
Yeah.
Oh my God. What am I doing? Go to the liquor store.
You do have to pay like a delivery fee though.
Like a sucker.
Well, Ernest,
apparently it was a real game.
what?
There's a
BASEketball?
real BASEketball game.
Yeah.
Well, the rules are pretty clear, right? Like it's.
You'd
Like,
have
I
to
feel
get
like-
into it a bit, but like, yeah, it's. I think
Isn't
that,
it kind of like doesn't darts have like a baseball version of darts where like you have to like hit those things or something?
oh, okay. So what BASEketball is essentially is it is horse. When they're like, no, it's not like horse. It is literally horse. But
Yeah.
instead, you just have to go to a first base, a second base, and a third base. And when you make your
Yeah.
shots, instead of having a pitcher, the pitcher essentially is the person.
I have
being
a
like,
question.
"Bleh."
I have a question. He said when they were explaining the rules, you said you can't take the same shot twice. Do they just mean back to back? Like
No, like you
come
can't.
back-
I think you can also like take shots from anywhere like horse. I think it literally is horse, but you have runners.
Yeah,
But I
right.
think in horse, when the ball bounces, you have to grab it, and that's where you shoot from, right? Like it's not. The
No,
rules for
horse is literally like you can take the first person takes a shot from anywhere, then the next person they have to make the shot from that shot.
if you make it.
Oh, right. Okay.
And then if you
I
don't
don't know.
make
I've
it, you get
I've
a-
never touched a basketball in my life. I
you
had
get
a
an
basketball
H.
net growing up, and I never used it.
And then if you land it, you
It
pick
can
the
be
next
fun.
spot, and then you take a shot. And if you make the shot, they have to shoot from that, and it keeps going till somebody has spelled out horse. Or the short version is
Or whatever word.
HOR. We always played the short version because we had a big group of friends. So if a full game of horse
yeah.
can take like an hour,
That's why you just play 21.
you play whore.
You're a whore.
This whole town's a whore. This whole
You
town
went
is
to your
one
door?
big chicken waiting to be fucked.
I love chicken wings. Yeah, man. So the pack last summer, there was this pack of like 30 wings for $10. It was amazing. Now it's like $18.
Were they called pinties?
Nope.
Because there's this brand here called Pinties,
Right.
and they're very authentically pub style wings that you just cook in your oven. And I
Right.
get buffalo
I'll
hot.
drink to that.
You're gonna be a twisty boy. And you get like the really big juicy wings. Those are the kinds you get. And
breaded or roasted.
breaded. What? No, they're not breaded, but they're still big and juicy.
Why are you yelling?
Madison's laughing at me because I'm talking about wings on my BASEketball podcast. Steve's going down to get beer in the lobby.
We're having intermission.
He ordered beer.
Intermission.
World we're living in.
We're doing it's not as rigid as normal.
Yeah, we're loosey goosey. Ooh.
Yeah, we're floppy. We're big, giant, floppy dicks. Just like in the movie.
Just like in the movie BASEketball, what we're here to talk about.
Boot.
It's funny.
You
TikTok-
actually had pliers in your hand for a second.
That was a good psych out. I like that psych out.
I
Oh,
like that
okay. So
psych
what
out a
were
lot.
some of your guys' psych outs? What were some of your guys' top psych outs?
I love that psycho. I love hey, that's my wife. Yeah, and that's
Oh yeah,
me.
the reveal.
I love fucking fat and fucking fit because he's just doing Cartman.
Because it sounds
Also,
like Cartman. Yeah.
also earlier in the movie, he does a thing where Reamer's like, we got to save the kids. We got to get this money so we can save the kids. And Coop is like, yeah, because Doug Reamer's all about saving the kids. And it sounds exactly like Mr.
The
Garrison.
Garrison. Yeah.
And I like the little, like, obviously South Park was rolling. This is post, like, remember in Orgazmo and
Well, apparently they thought South Park was going to be canceled, and so like they didn't think it'd be any problem to make this movie. But then, like you're saying, South Park starts getting going, and it actually picks up. And so they're doing both. They're doing what is it? It's this during the day, and then South Park during the night. I think it was.
Yeah, and then I think Paramount came to them and they were like, we want you to do another movie. And I think it was a situation where they were like, we want you to do 3 movies, like the deal that they have now with Paramount. And
Right.
they did Team America, and they were like, we'll pay to get out of this contract to do this many movies because I never want to make a movie again. So what I'm thinking is the movies that they signed on for, we might get like 1 live action maybe, and we'll definitely get
Musical.
South Park movies and probably a movie version of if nothing else, I would say we get a movie version of Book of Mormon without Trey Parker and Matt Stone in it. That would make the most sense to me.
I watched the Book of Mormon the other day. It was like a shitty canned version, but I got the gist of it.
Here's the thing.
I think they also hate making movies, which is why they haven't made one in so long.
I literally just said that.
Oh, sorry.
I think there's a Book of
What are you, drunk, Steve?
No, I wasn't paying attention.
I think you can I think there's a filmed version of Book of Mormon that you can buy when you go see Book of Mormon. Like, I didn't even think of this. I think there might be like the way that Hamilton.
Oh, do you guys want to have a special episode where we go see it live? Or
you gotta say one idea at a time.
Okay.
Please.
Sometimes they just keep coming.
I know, and you say everything you're thinking. It's my birthday. You got to be
I'll cheers to that.
Shut up!
You don't get to also be a maniac on my birthday.
Okay, so then cheers to it. And drink and not pretend to not drink.
Cheers to it, bro.
Cheers
Come on,
to
get
it.
your webcam with a beer can.
Let's see. I'm gonna go through my notes now because Steve,
What did you order, Steve? What did you get?
Just
Steve,
some Woodhouse lagers.
You're usually very outspoken on all these shows. I had somebody in our.
I think I'm hitting like comedy fatigue, where I'm just like, I don't know how much more I can talk about these Trey Parker, Matt Stone movies.
It kind of went. I knew that something like this might happen if I did all one creator, and not in a way that like. I think that Stephen King is going to be so varied in the selections.
Yeah. I mean,
that
the
it's
ones that I picked are like the ones that I were the most informative to me as a child. Like they had some sort of impact on me. I either saw them in theaters or were the ones that I watched the most as a kid. So I picked them for that reason. So they are kind of similar in theme, but yeah, I mean, they're all just
inversely
weird.
How many dick jokes have we had to endure in the last 4 weeks?
Probably 400.
Yeah.
More.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
That is something to be mindful of.
And I'm glad we're culminating next because I actually seriously want to talk about about Team America, because I think even after watching this, which is one of my favorite, I think Team America is legitimately the best one. It's the most over the top and the most like they get away with so much because they're so famous in a couple years from now.
Yeah.
That they can actually get away with stuff where BASEketball, they were still riding that line of the MPAA and them having to like clearly cut stuff. And this week, I'm kind of getting Trey Parker, Matt Stone fatigue, if I'm being honest. Meanwhile, during all of this, I've been watching my whole algorithm on YouTube is Trey Parker and Matt Stone interviews to the point that I've stopped. It's not listening to it, just when you type things into search engines, it remembers. It's all Trey Parker, Matt Stone interviews.
That's how it listens.
Well, I mean, yes. It's not this big conspiracy. Everybody knows that's what's happening. That's how they advertise.
That's why when you watch like one guy make a chair on YouTube, and then for a month afterwards, everything they advertise is chair making videos.
That's why my whole YouTube is Trey Parker, Matt Stone, like people reacting to stuff, wrestling, and video games, because that's what I use YouTube for.
Mine has become all Trey Parker, Matt Stone stuff too, because I wanted to watch a few of the special features for just to hear them talk about things educationally, which is actually harder to find than you'd think.
I couldn't really find I tried to look for
The irony that I found is the problem with this is when you want the educational stuff, it's so dry. They go on like Charlie Rose, or they go on. I saw this one where they did an interview with like the free speech committee, and it was just these like men in suits just asking the stuffiest questions about free speech.
Right.
And
like
he's
inside
very
the actor's studio.
Yeah, and he's Trey Parker's very. I think Trey Parker in real life is just like a really dry, normal guy who really comes alive when he puts his ideas on paper. And I think everybody thinks he's this. I think everybody thinks that he's Coop from the movie, because I did for most of my life. I thought that he looked like Coop in real life. and he really
Yeah,
doesn't.
okay.
He doesn't really look. He only had the shaggy blonde, like bleach blonde hair thing for like a minute in the 90s. He mostly just has a shaved head. Matt Stone, on the other hand, he had that Jufro for like forever, but then he eventually shaved it off
Is
too.
that kosher?
You can say Jufro,
Okay.
I think.
I mean, you can. I'm not going to do it.
Okay. Okay. Curly afro.
It's fine. You can say whatever you want.
Do you really want to test that?
No.
So
We're starting to get wild, folks.
there's
Starting
a
to
bit
get
of
wild.
it.
It's not
The
just
problem
me
is
anymore.
there's a bit of a duality with Trey Parker and Matt Stone that I've noticed through all of this, and it's like I've grown out of this brand of humor, but I think that, oh my god, I said this about BASEketball like 2 weeks ago, that you know that
Team America is the best movie.
Team
out of all of
America
them.
is the best one,
Yeah.
and it's going to transcend comedy. But I might get to that puke scene and be like, what have I done to us for 5 weeks in a row?
Yeah, I think for me, like, it was never really my brand, but this movie it has a lot of their DNA in it, but you can tell that it's been worked over by somebody else, right? Like,
it has a skeleton, yeah.
It feels like
it's made by the guy who made like the Airplane movie, and like, so it's that sort of absurdist comedy that's always dripping in the background. Like when they're just having a conversation, there has to be something weird happening in the background, and that's just like all of his movies, right?
Or what they're talking about is like a serious conversation, but it's also dripping with like little jokes put in there. It's David Zucker.
Right.
What's his name?
David Zucker. Yeah, he has been around a while, and he also wrote the movie. And he's made, he made like some of the Scary Movie movies and the Naked Gun movies, and either writing or directing. He made Top Secret, which is like a very funny, absurdist slapstick comedy with Val Kilmer. But that type of humor is kind of it's sort of so absurd that it can still withstand the test of time. Like Airplane, you can watch that and there's still a lot of stuff in there that feels very funny, even though it's extremely old, right? Like, we're not extremely old, but it came
I'm
out
surprised
in
Leslie
1980,
Nielsen
I think.
wasn't
somewhere in this movie.
Yeah.
Ooh, that'd be nice.
Ernest Borgnine could have been Leslie Nielsen. Bob Kane, I can't remember his first. Is it Bob Kane? No, that's Batman.
That's Batman.
That could have been him. They could have put him in.
You think of Michael Caine?
No, Kane as in the antagonist.
From the Bible?
No, from this movie. Oh my god, I feel like Kane right now.
Are you gonna kill Abel?
Do I fart? Actually, my favorite visual gag in this movie is literally when he's like talking to him and Reamer goes down the escalator. I've always loved that.
Yeah.
Where they're talking and walking, and it's like a from the waist up shot, and Reamer just like goes down.
Yeah. Reamer fucking just always giving the old guy like a headache because of like, I like how he's like taking what he's saying, but he's like interpreting, like he's I
have to leave BASEketball? No.
Yeah.
You have to convince Coop to sign on with us. He has to leave BASEketball too?
I think my favorite part of the movie is the Robert Stack cameo, where it's like, a young man, the most famous sports player in the entire world.
Also later when he was like, we still don't know what the fuck has happened to him, and there's a picture of him on the screen.
They found him.
I just love Robert Stack so much. He's like, I know that he's been around forever, and he's been in like, I think he's been on South Park before. I know he's been on he was in the Beavis and Butthead movie.
Yeah. Unsolved Mystery was so prevalent at this time too that I loved this then, and I loved it. I was looking forward to the Unsolved Mysteries bit.
I forgot about that bit, and when I saw it, I was like, yes. It's like, I do a Robert Stack impression in D&D a lot because I just think it's a funny voice.
Nice.
It's like, Laura Sinclair left the diner where she worked at about 11 p.m. and decided to walk 2 blocks.
That's
He was
like
never
that's
seen
like
it.
when
Oh
they're
my
like,
God.
we have to turn off this basketball game. It's filthy and not for kids. And that's like, then they found the human head, mouth gaping open, decapitated from the body.
Spooks, ghouls, things that go bump in the night.
I loved this. I loved that show as a kid. But the fact that they put a segment like this in a movie is such a good, like, it's high comedy, honestly, for like a raunchy film. It's so
It works
like,
good for their age range too, I think.
yeah.
Whatever, right?
Well,
I also-
they just made a new Unsolved Mysteries. Robert Stack obviously is not in it.
No,
but,
he's been dead for a while, but it's not the same.
No, because you don't have Robert Stack appearing from the fog being
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
What
that
I
was
really-
pretty dope. That was pretty dope.
unidentified flying objects.
What I absolutely love about BASEketball, though, compared to Orgazmo, and especially Cannibal, I guess Cannibal I never really held in high regard. So
Word.
Orgazmo is not visually interesting to look at, and BASEketball was entertaining to just look at a lot of the time, because Trey Parker and Matt
Yeah,
Stone
it
have
had
really,
decent cinematography.
but Trey Parker and Matt Stone have really weird faces. Like, they're not conventional movie
They're both a
stars.
couple of cuties in this movie.
Oh, they're young.
Couple of snacks.
They're probably like
I was
32 in this
Matt
movie.
Stone, he was kind of like he was easy to look at.
Yes.
Like, he made me laugh.
He's got such a goofy, funny face, though, when he does
Yeah.
a goofy, funny face. Like, one of my favorite visual
Yeah,
gags
yeah,
in the
yeah.
whole thing is when Ernest Borgnine is like, kids in their, Pac-Man video games. They have the attention span of a whatever, and it cuts to Reamer just going like this, looking at a bird, and that's something I wanted to. Kaylin, what? Just say the thing. Just wait till nobody's talking and then say what you want to say.
But no one talking never happens. Steven,
Yeah.
can you do your impression while reading the lovely bedtime story, Go the Fuck to Sleep?
What, my Robert Stack
That's
impression?
actually a pretty good.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good idea.
I have to look up the story. I don't know it off by heart.
I'll go get it for you right now. We'll
No.
save it for later. But okay.
Maybe for
thank
the
you.
after
Sorry.
show.
Okay.
But
after. Jason, go ahead. My
I
apologies.
wanted to. I lost my train of thought.
No, we were talking about.
You were talking about how he
yeah.
was saying the kids have no attention spans, and he's making a funny face while looking at the birds.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what it was. Yeah, fucking Matt Stone.
I remember what I wanted to get into. And I kind of I didn't touch on it, but like, I was thinking about it when I asked you, Steve, about how you didn't have this really in your childhood, but this goes back to what I was saying with Orgazmo, and this movie especially. This was one of the most quoted movies in my friend group. Like, we would do all of the bits from the movie all the time, constantly, almost on the same level. This is closer to an Anchorman.
Guys, I'll be right back.
This is closer to an Anchorman in terms of the jokes actually being like funny, well thought out jokes, where Orgazmo were just like, it's hard to make jokes in porn. Like, porn is such a weird fringe thing, especially in 1996 or whenever that movie came out. That, like,
well, yeah, and they also, like the guys who wrote this movie weren't a couple of dudes fresh out of film school, and Trey Parker wrote that whole movie alone, and this was a writing team, and they probably had, and these guys even said that they tweaked it a little bit when they came in, right? So it's you get to a point where something can be overworked, but it was like, it was tight, and nothing felt like the problem with Orgazmo for me was that it was going joke, and like, there might be one joke in there that's funny, but if there's another one that falls flat right afterwards, it eliminates the humor from the joke previous to it. It's like an anti-humor thing where it makes me, now I'm like, ugh, that now the funny thing is not funny as well, because he paired it up with this other thing.
I think they must have learned a lot about how to write a structure for a storyline from this movie, because Orgazmo almost feels like old South Park, and BASEketball feels like newer South Park, where it's a pretty, like, there's a lot of seasons of South Park that have pretty, like, not serious, but like, pretty like cookie cutter stories with all of the comedy sort of packed onto that skeleton.
Yeah,
and that's
one
what
thing
this kind of feels like.
One thing that Trey Parker mentioned in a few of the interviews that I was watching, and a couple of special features, like commentary things, was that for a long time, they always obsessed over having an A story, B story, and a C story. And eventually they got to a point where they would abandon the A and B story and they would focus primarily on the A story. And if they needed it, they would bring in the other things. But they realized after a time that having all these other stories is just a formula that all sitcoms had done up until that point. So and they didn't realize that they didn't need to do that. It was just a thing that had been done, so they thought they had to do it, right? And it's good. It's just growth, right? Like you learn from experience, and the experience that they probably gained a bit of writing skill from this movie for sure, being a part of the machine and like, you know, being there to have influence on what's going on. Whereas, you know, Orgazmo felt like Trey Parker had a script and he probably just stuck to the script, and there was not a lot of improvisation going on, and there was no reworks, and I doubt there were reshoots.
To that note though, like it didn't feel like there was a lot of improvisation in this either. This felt like everything was written down, or it was like written on the fly for the scene. It's not, it's a different completely than a Will Smith movie that you turn that thing on. Look at Step Brothers. It feels like they start a scene in Step Brothers and then they just let Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly just like riff off each other for go 7 minutes and we'll cut it down to 5 minutes, or we'll cut it down to 3 minutes.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of the stuff that worked for me in this movie were the visual gags. Not a ton of dialogue was making me chuckle, but like I really liked the hockey player getting his head cut off at the beginning. For some reason, I like found myself going like on the couch, just laughing at a bloody skull rolling across, you know, pure white of a ice rink. It's funny to me.
The what was it? The football and baseball. I actually kind of liked that one. That'd be a fun game to watch. I
think it would too. People tackling baseball players would be fun.
Oh, yeah. Right. I was so confused what you meant. I was like, I don't get the crossover sports. Yeah. Another good one is when they're trying to bring the kid back to life, and he grabs a blanket and like yanks it, and then the guy just like flies out of focus in the background, like across the hospital room. Like, yeah, that was good.
I really love they're just doing a bunch of like wacky shit, and then it just goes to this like gross. You can feel the sweatiness of the bar. They're just watching the game. The kids, if you notice, the kid's drinking, but he's doing like a tenth of a shot every time while they're doing full shots. So he
didn't get a drinking problem later in life.
Well, maybe not. I'm sure that
I think that was due to being a child actor, not from the scene in this movie.
Also, that
I looked it up. I was so curious. It's like, oh shit! Like when I saw, I was like, oh shit, he must.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I was actually wondering that. Like,
also, the three of us shouldn't be criticizing anybody for having a drinking problem.
No.
This guy does.
I do really enjoy that scene, and I always had. It feels really like disconnected from the rest of the movie, especially the previous scene where it's just like a montage of them palling around. Like, I thought it was really funny that she like brings some basic peanut butter and jam sandwiches, and they just like wait.
Crunchy or smooth? Crunchy or smooth? What do you guys?
And then they whip them over their shoulder. I thought that was funny. Crunchy all the way.
Why wouldn't you eat the sandwich? Was it not good? Is that what that meant?
Yeah, like she couldn't cook, I think was the joke. I think it was a sexist.
Oh, but it was as simple as a sandwich. I gotcha.
So, speaking of controversial things,
go on.
I don't know that I felt that offended by much in this, and I think
I rolled my eyes at a few things, but I didn't find myself being like, ugh.
I think even they had the opportunity to make a 5-minute long gay joke with the San Francisco ferries, and I thought that was handled surprisingly well, even though it did culminate in ultimately a gay joke where he's like, how to speak San Francisco.
I like the cheerleaders.
Vagina. But that's the thing. The cheerleaders were hot, sexy hunks. And the vagina joke, he even says, that wasn't a gay joke. That was an Australian joke, which, you know what I mean? Like in universe, in character, I believe that's, you know, he was trying to toe the line a little bit in like a progressive way. And I thought that compared to something like Orgazmo, which was like a fucking, you can't, you know, he says the Q word like 6 times.
Also, you could say queer. It's not a curse word.
You can if you can't.
In certain contexts.
That's when he said it in the context that I didn't want to say it.
Yeah.
I know you can say queer because it's LGBTQTI plus or whatever. T plus, TI plus. Anyway,
There's lots now. There's lots of
yeah.
other things.
It's LGBTQ ABCD if G if you ask me.
Yeah,
Isn't
I
there
don't even
also
know it,
A?
and I'm
Isn't
on
there
that.
also an A?
I'm on that list. Sorry.
Isn't there also an A?
Yeah, I did. I said it. LGBTQ.
There's lots.
A,
Kayla, if you type it in
TI
right now,
plus.
you'll see what the plus tends to umbrella a lot of stuff, but the plus is like there's a ton of other shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, we don't need to. We don't need
Who's
to.
got the cop? Who's got the cop?
LMNOP, am I right?
That's the police are coming because we're talking about this for too long. The hot
Do you have
cops.
a fucking little sound machine scored up?
We don't need see. I just wanted to bring it up and talk about it briefly because I really love the joke. How to speak San Franciscan, but I didn't want to like, unlike Orgazmo, where we kind of had to get into it a little bit, and South Park, where we really got into it, as I recall.
Well, I think it was because South Park was such a huge phenomenon, especially in middle schools. Like that's where it really kind of like flourished on the playground, you know, like, and me personally, I noticed, which is something I've already talked about in the previous episodes, so we don't need to really talk about it too much, is that certain people latch onto certain things for the wrong reason.
Yeah.
And where you can make a very clever, intelligent joke, but if the wrong person hears that and starts saying it in the wrong context in the playground, you know, it immediately goes from being a smart, clever joke to just being offensive, which is one of the reasons that people get so easily triggered by things these days, is because we've all now trained our brains to be aware of other people's emotions. And, you know, as that can be detrimental to comedy, it also is just a showing that human beings are evolving emotionally. And
I guess, I guess on the other
empathetically.
side of the coin, maybe this was sort of indicative of how this movie was trying to reach a broader audience and didn't want to alienate anyone.
It was, a little more.
What's the
palatable,
rating? Do you have the case there? I can't remember if this movie is 14A or R. It doesn't have that many fucks in it.
Where would I see?
Should just be on the
R.
case.
R.
It is rated R. Yeah,
but I mean, that's the American rating system, right? Like,
that's true.
It's so hard to get an R rating in Canada. It's crazy. The only movie that I can recall that was rated R, oops, sorry, hiccups, was
bring them. I'll cheers to that. I'll cheers to that for sure.
Was Kill Bill Volume 1, and I tried to get into that movie so many times, and I got kicked out every time.
That story was
so
awesome.
infuriating. There was some teenager working there who just kept kicking me out, and I was like, man, come on. He's like, I'm not losing my job because of you. I'm like, you didn't even know I was in here.
Did your friend's mom like hook you up or some shit?
My friend's mom, my friend Vince, his mom bought us tickets and walked us in, and then she left. But but an R means you cannot get in unless you're over 18, right? Like it's not like adult accompaniment. So even if you go in the just being in the movie under 18 means you're breaking the law or whatever.
How are they more? How do they know better than the parent?
They don't.
They
that's
don't.
The point.
Yeah, that's why it's so stupid. I do think that like those restrictions are in place in order to educate parents on what they should be showing their kids, right? It's not like it's not there to protect anybody other than children of parents who don't want them to watch things. Right. You know, eventually I got to watch Kill Bill when it came out on video. I was able to rent it from Blockbuster. And I think I was like 16 or 17. It's not like I was like a 12-year-old trying to sneak into a movie, right? Like, anyway, movie ratings are stupid. And
you're a man in some religions at that age.
Yeah. Yeah, but like also in some states.
Ugh, yeah, let's not talk about that.
Yeah. Were you guys ever fans of so the funny thing about the soundtrack is that there's so much good. There's an Aqua song, there's a fucking John the Scatman ski up.
There was no musical outbreak though, right?
Well, there's one song that's a Trey Parker song, and I think it's actually credited
when he's driving.
I think that's credited as a DVD song as well. Interestingly. And I loved that song, and I used to know all the lyrics when I was 16 years old and would sing it.
You didn't sing along when you watched it this time?
Well, I did. Like, I remember, like, when you're down and you can't let go. It's
I still
all
think they
part of
should make a
some
movie where
guy's
they're
evil
just
plan.
playing the characters who are the band that make all the songs
That
for
would,
these
like
movies.
make a mockumentary about DVDA, but it's
Yeah.
Trey
The
Parker,
other
Matt
thing,
Stone,
too,
and they're
though-
old. That
Yeah.
would
So
be
like
good.
what you guys said earlier about like the like so there's a few variables as to like why this is funny, like, or not why it's funny, but like how it makes you respond to it, right? Like the different mediums, like where South Park is a cartoon and this is live, like real life, live action. And so instead of like a general idea of what someone looks like, it's like a very specific idea.
I don't know
I'm
if that was
sorry,
a
I don't
complete
understand the
thought.
question. Yeah, is that a question or just a statement?
I feel like it meant something at some point.
Okay.
I might have hit that wall. I'm gonna switch to water for a little bit.
Okay. Where you're rambling and you're like, I have a point, but I can't remember what it is, but I'm gonna keep talking and hopefully it comes out of my mouth.
Sometimes that helps. Sometimes
Clearly
that
gone
helps.
to the school of Jason Phillips, even sober, because that's something that I do frequently on this podcast. On this very podcast,
What
I
I'll
do
try
you
not to
do?
do that anymore because I get really embarrassed while it's happening.
I'll
My
just
face
keep-
starts to turn red.
I'll just keep talking, and I'll just hope that I get to a point. And a lot of times if Kaylin doesn't interrupt me during my final thoughts, that's when I say that. That's when those profound things come out. That are
Right?
like, but when Kaylin interrupts me, I lose my train of thought and it nosedives real bad.
Okay.
You're getting in trouble for something you haven't done yet, Caitlin. So
Not-
I'm keeping it in
Not
mind.
for
on this
this
episode. Yeah, not on this episode.
I'm keeping it in mind.
It's loosey goosey rules though here on Jason's episode.
No,
Jason's
I'm
birthday
getting
episode.
all my interruptions out now, and then I'll be all interrupted out later.
Likely story.
So
So
likely. Was that sarcasm? That sounded like sarcasm.
I'm the most sarcastic motherfucker you've ever met.
Ha, nah.
Ha, nah.
Who's more sarcastic than me? Huh? Huh?
I don't know.
I don't know. So we're at just over an hour, and I feel like we are having this, and I started talking about this earlier, where fucking Orgazmo, I was so excited to watch, and then the movie legitimately let me down. I've been thinking about this for a week too, how that movie kind of just let me down. This movie didn't let me down.
Ooh.
I did love
Okay.
Orgazmo, or I did love BASEketball once again, as I always do. But I got to the end of the movie, and I feel like there's not a lot to talk about in this movie. So I don't
I
want
still have things to talk about.
Okay, well, let me. God damn it, Kaylin.
Can I?
I'm-
I
he's
have
not
one
ending
question.
the
I have one
episode.
question.
I'm not
I have
ending the
one question.
episode.
I have
All right,
one
I'm
question.
ending the
One
episode.
question.
Kaylin, you don't get to talk anymore.
Yeah, this is it. Okay, bye.
Yeah.
Hey, did you see this one?
I can't see him. I can't see him. Depending on what
Gone.
you're looking at.
No, let me fucking finish. So do you guys want to keep talking about specifically this episode? What I basically don't want to have happen is us pad out 2 hours like we did last week with us just talking. I want to stay talking about BASEketball. Do you guys want to finish off our thoughts, do our final thoughts, end it kind of early, and then go stop the
Talk
stream,
about Batman.
and then we'll do a post show? Maybe we can talk about
Batman episode.
whatever we want.
We can just talk.
Yeah, we can just do an
But
impromptu
before we
Batman
talk,
episode.
can I ask you guys a question? I don't understand smelling underwear.
It's a fetish. It's fetish shit.
Yeah, it's
Is it
just
a
the
fetish?
act of doing it. It's not necessarily the smell. It's just like the act of doing it is what.
Well,
Is that what it
it's
is? I
also
thought it was
the
like
smell.
you were smelling something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, smelling clean underwear is you're just smelling like laundry detergent, right? It's not like
Well,
you're smelling.
Your clothes carry your essence. So I would imagine if you
Your
smell,
essence.
I've
I
never
forgot
smelled.
that you clean your laundry with crystals or whatever.
I've never smelled somebody else's underwear, but I've smelled my own underwear to see if it was clean or not, and it's got anyway.
You gotta use some dryer sheets, bro.
No, before I cleaned it. Oh my god. To see if it was dirty. To see if it was dirty before I clean it. Like,
well,
is this clean?
But what if it is dirty?
Yeah, and then Jason realized his fetish is smelling his own dirty underwear.
I like to smell my own farts, and that's the only way I can come.
God.
So
Do you leave it in your own face? Like
on
I'll smell it if it comes.
no, I don't
ideally-
like go like this with it. I just go just a quick, and it's mostly shirts, not underwear. My point is to answer your question. People do that. People love fucking that fetish shit.
Yeah, there's fetishes for everything, man.
But see, the thing is, I only ever see it in movies. No one's ever told me. No one's like, hey,
It's because the people doing it don't tell you about it. Caleb.
And
They're not
also,
doing it while
yeah.
you're there.
It's not a thing that you would witness. You're seeing it in a movie because it's dramatic juxtaposition.
I mean,
Okay.
but also to be fair, I don't know anybody that has admitted that as their.
I thought I might have
fetish.
been missing out on something. I guess that's where I was going with all this. I thought I might have
Well,
been
take a
missing
whiff
out.
of your girlfriend underwear and see if you're into it.
I don't have a girlfriend, Jason.
Uh-oh.
I didn't know
Boyfriend.
that. You've had girlfriends. Yeah,
I
boy,
don't have any friends. I don't.
Oh, jeez.
well, that got way. It's one thing to not have a girlfriend,
Yeah.
but fuck
I think
that.
I hear the police again. They're getting ready for Kaylin's trip to the laundry mart. You're just taking a laundry detergent or a laundromat,
A laundry mart.
smelling strangers' clothes.
I have no significant other.
That's cool. That's fine, and that's fine.
But you know what I
Sometimes-
do have, and I'll cheers to it.
What? A
I
foot
have a
fetish?
An armpit
No.
fetish.
Oh, nah, we'll save that for another episode.
Did we figure this fetish on the third guess?
No,
Yeah,
I was
it was
gonna
feet,
tell you.
yeah.
No, I was about to tell you it, but then in my own head, but then I said it out loud as I thought it. I'll tell you on another episode.
I think that's a post-show conversation anyway.
When
Let's
we do
keep-
Quentin Tarantino for a month or
Yeah,
whatever.
and we talk about foot fetishes for like we count the foot.
I
moments.
feel like that's been over discussed to
Yeah.
a point that it's like
Have you guys noticed?
everybody on planet Earth now knows that Quentin Tarantino's a
And he's like,
How do you
yeah,
feel
I
about
kind of
the
like
different
feet, whatever.
though? How do you feel about the different feet though? Like the different types of feet? Like have you
I
guys ever
find
noticed
feet to be kind of gross. They're like
Feet are
fucked up
not.
hands.
Yeah,
Some
feet are-
people really don't like them. Some people like indifferent, and I guess some people like them or whatever.
I'm indifferent to.
But have you
disgusted
noticed
by.
how they're different? Have you ever seen those feet with the straight toes? And then sometimes you got those feet that are kind of like a triangle diamond kind of thing. Like
All right, we definitely guessed his fetish.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
He
Yes,
Hey,
Kaylin, people have different feet.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
Just making sure you're aware.
Hey, Kaylin, this will really
Yeah.
fuck him up. Do you have a mole on your arm that's like right here?
Which one?
Either?
Let me check. I almost spilt my drink.
It's like damn it. My other fetish.
What?
Pouring drinks in my lap.
Nope. One second. On the arm?
Yeah. Okay. You're not a clone. I was gonna.
Okay.
Have you heard that, Steve, before?
Me, a clone? I'm one and only.
Because I have it.
Who could duplicate this?
I
I
have.
definitely have more than one.
Oh, but you just have fucking freckles.
Well,
I
like
have
freckles?
freckles all over my
Little
body.
freckles?
Yeah.
So there's a
probably got freckles
conspiracy
somewhere.
theory that like dudes that there's a lot of dudes.
Oh,
that
just
have
wait. I
this-
just found one
Okay, he's explaining what it is, Kaylin.
right there.
No, it's usually right here. Anyway,
Okay.
there's a conspiracy theory that there's a bunch of people, like dudes specifically, that have this same freckle, and it means you're a clone. But it's not
Remember
really.
that movie,
If I am a
Six-
clone, I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah,
Remember the sixth day where you look under your eyelid?
I haven't seen the Sixth Day.
Oh, it's actually
Put
not
that one
bad.
on the list. Put that one on the list.
It's not great, but it's not bad.
I
It's
watched
worth a watch.
the.
It's worth a watch.
I want to
yeah.
watch Event Horizon soon. That's a movie I want to see real soon.
Ooh, yeah, I have that movie on Blu-ray.
Sweet.
Okay, let's do it.
That movie also not great, but it's
No,
one
but
of
it's
my
like a gross
guilty
body
pleasures.
horror, weird 80s.
Yeah,
movie, right?
and it's like a haunted house in space, which is
Yeah.
awesome.
Which
What
I'm
about
fucking stoked about.
Agora?
Oh, I remember Agora from Fangoria magazine when I was a kid, and I would like
I
to
think
see
that
it.
might be different.
Oh,
Yeah, you guys. I think you guys have already discovered that I'm like I don't even consider myself I'm like a huge
okay,
horror
guys,
fan, and I
guys,
think
hold
about-
on a second. We're doing exactly what I didn't want to do.
Okay. Okay. So wait.
So,
Let's
Steve,
back
I know
All right,
you
up.
back to BASEketball.
I know you hate being interrupted, but my point is let's just finish this basketball episode. and we'll click over to the other. We'll click over to the after show, and then we'll just talk. We'll just hang out.
Let me hit you with a barrage of shit right now.
All right. Actually, before you do that, Kayla and Steve, do you have anything else that you want to say about BASEketball? Because I feel like you're gonna have less than.
No, I was just gonna be here to respond to what you guys are saying because I don't have really anything to say.
Perfect.
All right, get me. I'll go instead of doing a barrage like an automatic where it's like I'll do a revolver or whatever where you need to load it, and then you can.
Like a shotgun, like.
Yeah. All right, here we go. First shotgun shot. They added Dian, aka Squeak. So, Steven, I think you mentioned earlier that this it wasn't written by them, right? There was a script before it came to them. They got put on, and then they brought Dian with them. Now, they did shit on him a lot, and I definitely felt more sympathetic this watch compared to my younger days, where like there's the humor in it made me like there's moments where I laughed when it was like really good, like when they're interview the newscaster lady is like trying to interview like Coop and Reamer, and then like they go and then Squeak comes over and, hey, you want to interview me? And it was like no, like I got a nice little giggle out of that. But what the fuck was I talking about?
I don't know. I think you're reloading your shotgun at this point.
Yeah.
Oh, right, reloading. So they brought him on. Like that character wasn't a part of the story.
I figured. I felt like they hired the three of them as a team based on Orgazmo.
Yeah. So that's kind of like some friendly shit. Even though he gets the shit end, it's still like you know what I mean. Like
yeah, and he got paid.
He probably got paid his biggest payday of his whole. He probably can live off the money he made from BASEketball.
Out of us three, if it requires me to be the shit end for us to make it, I'll do that.
Yeah,
right,
brains,
good to know.
Brawn, wild card. Duh.
I'm the brains.
Exactly.
Cool.
That you nailed it. You just nailed it. That's exactly.
But I'm Steve's a straight man and I'm the like, you know, what's like in The Odd Couple, I'm the messy one. But then we still straight man, like not straight man, wild card, but also brains. But if we're the A team, brains, brawn, wild card. Either way, you're the wild card.
Yeah. You're wearing your wild card hat and everything.
We have a dynamic. It is what it is. Cheers! I'll cheers to that. Actually, that one I do like to cheers to.
Cheers!
Yay!
Okay.
Yeah, I think that like for me, the dynamic between them, obviously, it goes back to what I was saying. Is like some people latched onto that for the wrong reasons, and they ended up doing that within their friend group, and it was unfortunate for the person who was being ragged on and being called little bitch and squeak and like I never was called that.
Makes you,
I was never bullied.
Why did you say that that I'd be dating his girlfriend? Well, you got to say totally fucked up shit. Oh, okay. Wait, why is me dating his sister totally fucked up?
When he's wearing the mask, he's trying to talk about with masks, none of them working. He takes the mask off, and then it's just his face, and the guy.
Oh
gets
yeah, the Freddy Krueger bit. Yeah,
that one got me pretty good. Hey, I was the squeak in my group though. My nickname was Stinks. Actually, it was even worse than that.
I'm sorry. What did you say? Stink?
My nickname was Stinky, but my buddy he made it a little bit cooler, and it became Stinks.
I don't know if that's cooler.
Yeah, it is.
That just is.
I feel like if I was meeting you guys for the first time, I would just assume that you smell bad.
Well, see, that was the backlash because the thing is, that was the name. So whenever there was someone new, like, yo, this is Stinks. I'm like, yo, do you mind? That's us. We can say that. This is a brand new person.
Yeah,
they don't need
to. Hey, Stinks, hang up my coat.
It's like when I was in junior high.
Stinks, get over here.
It's like when I was in junior high and high school, my friends started calling me Jace. And then when I'd be courting a female,
do you not
I
like
know,
Chase?
no, I like Chase colloquially between friends,
Yeah.
the way Stinks was fine between friends. If I was courting a girl and she was like Jace, I'd be like, nope, this
No.
isn't gonna work. You
No.
gotta call me Jason, please. And extra points, extra negative points if somebody meets me and can't take 10 seconds to remember the name Jason and they call me Jay forever.
Ooh.
That drives me nuts too.
I don't really have any stigmas to my own name. There's variations of it, and none of them bother me. So
does anybody call you
PH or
S?
V? I'm pretty sure I asked you this already, but
no one's
PH
ever
or
called
V?
me S. That's
S?
yeah.
Oh, that's a good one. S.
Sometimes people will call me V because I would get very intense about the V in my name. Because they one time,
so
okay, when I was buying these, this is a funny joke, or not a joke. It's a funny story. I was buying these glasses, and I went into the glasses store, and they were writing my name down for the order, and I saw that they wrote PH, and they're like, "What's your name?" I'm like, "Stephen Waters." They started writing down, they wrote PH, and they had started writing my last name, and I was like, "Oh, sorry, it's with a V." And then she scratched it out, and she wrote Stephen with a PH again, and then put Waters. Like Stephen Waters.
My name's Stephen Walters. That reminds me of that meme that you're very familiar, I'm sure, with Steve, but it's Steve with the PH, and then you see it written as PHEVEN.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, is there a thing?
It's like a Starbucks. I think it's an old Vine at this point.
I didn't know my video was a part of a thing that I didn't know it was a part of.
What did you came up with that like independently?
That video that I posted, right? That was a real thing that happened. There was a friend, and we're like, "Yo, what's your?" Me and Corey. I'm not sure. I think you might have met Corey.
I know Corey. Yeah.
Yeah, we basically that really happened. Like what you saw in that video, like that was like a me shitty attempt of trying to make a funny video of it. But the words, the situation, that's what happened.
I don't know which one you're talking about.
What's your boyfriend's name again? Brendan or Brandon? His name's Steven. Yeah, I know. But like PH or V, because like it's different but the same.
Brendan or Brandon? Okay.
Well, they're not different. They're different, but like it's like oh, a Mentos or whatever that saves the day. It makes you all cool. It's like, oh, I got paint. I got paint on my brand new $1,000 suit. That's okay. Mentos,
the fresh maker.
Actually, this isn't paid sponsoring.
Let's go on to the next shotgun shell, shall we?
Shoot us in the face with your next fact, please, because this is.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it's been working. What did we just talk about? Okay.
Let's try not to get derailed with stories that I don't understand.
Yeah.
I didn't get that last one.
I did like the one of my favorite psych outs was when fucking Buddy's like, oh man, what's his face? Denslow is dying or whatever. Like that was pretty good because it was real. I like my the little like comedy things that I've done up. They're not jokes. They're just like real life things that I've done.
Yes, we got that from the last story.
Perfect. All right, next one. I'm doing the happy dance.
Oh yeah, we didn't even talk about the happy dance. That's classic.
I did that. That's one of the things that I actually do. That's one of the things that I've actually carried on from this movie. It's like, oh yeah, that's where I got this from. I do that sometimes, just like, psych myself back into being happy.
Something that I did a lot from this movie was at the beginning they'll say a sentence and say cock, like kind of like
add cock to the
yeah. I used to do that all the time when I was a teenager because it's fucking
hilarious
teenager shit. This movie's like for teens, and Orgazmo like is not for teens, but like still is for teens,
Yeah.
And I think that's
and I mean we've mentioned this before. Like comedy, obviously subjective, but also your taste in comedy changes your entire life. Like we're not going to find the same thing funny
Also,
2
your
years
taste
from now that we
buds
think
change.
is funny.
Your taste buds also change throughout your life.
Yeah, that's why old people love candy.
That's why
It's
I
all
love,
they can taste now.
that's why I
Yo,
love black
back in the
pepper.
day, I hated olives and pickles. Now I love them.
I hate olives except for
Well,
green.
I think that was
Kalamata.
like due to the advent of Tabasco sauce was due to like miners like losing their ability to taste, so they would just
That's what I've heard. That's
they
what
would
I've heard.
put like super spiced stuff on it, and it's the only thing they can taste really.
You know what I discovered the other day? Garlic stuffed olives.
Yeah, garlic
So
stuffed
good.
olives are the bomb. The ones that you get
So
from
good.
like I guess Shoppers there, or not Shoppers, Superstore.
Metro. Oh right.
They don't have
I have a
Metro and they
couple
don't have
things.
Loblaws in Halifax, but they have
Yeah,
the
Well,
Superstore,
Superstore is part of Loblaws.
which
or
is
something.
Loblaws.
But we got Superstore, we got Sobeys, we got Walmart,
We don't
we
have
got
Sobeys
Giant
here.
Tiger.
Next shotgun show.
We'll talk
Yeah,
about
We need
all
to
that.
list
shotgun.
stores. No one cares.
Oh,
I
okay.
care.
One of the things that made me laugh was like, yeah, it really took everyone working together to lose this one.
What was the thing that happened in the movie?
Yeah, it was a line made me laugh.
I like that they actually cast 2 sports announcers to be the sports announcers.
Bob
It added that-
Costas specifically.
Oh, I
it
got
added a nice layer of authenticity to like the feel of
Yeah.
Like,
Feel
I
these
haven't
nipples.
added
That's
any
actually
joke.
that's a thing I used to say all the fucking time when I was like 15, 16. Feel these nipples.
yeah. I just like the way he says like we're in
You're
another
excited.
beautiful day of BASEketball. Everybody is here to watch the team score the ball to the net.
I
And
read
just
an
and to
interesting
think, just
thing.
5 years ago, these girls were still in grade school. That's actually that
That
stuff.
was a little unsettling.
That's
That was a little
I
unsettling.
wanted to bring that up because it was unsettling, and that kind of comedy has no place in comedy anymore. That said, let's move on. Kalen,
Well,
hit us with
I
another
found-
shotgun shell of truth, please.
I will hit you with a shotgun shell of truth that I read, and it's as true as I read some squiggly lines on a screen. Like that part's true.
Uh-oh.
But it said that the one guy, he was getting paid 15,000 to do his bit, and then he found out the other guy was getting paid 50,000 to do his bit, and then he's like, oh, what the fuck? And then so he's like, oh, blah blah blah, and then so he ended up getting paid 60,000 to do his thing. And so I'm thinking, he's pissed off that they underballed him, so that's why he went above what the other guy had. But then at the same time, I'm thinking maybe it's like, oh, well, fuck the other guy. I'm better than the other guy. I should get paid more than him or whatever. Blah blah blah.
So, Kalen, what were your final thoughts for this movie?
Oh, are we there already?
I think that we're gonna after we do our final thoughts, we're gonna still hit 2 hours.
Yeah.
I'd
That's
rather just go into an after show where we can just talk about whatever and just have a good time. This
I'm
movie's
down with
kind of
that.
stressing me out now.
Well, fuck. I'll cheers to that.
Let's cheers to that. Yeah, let's go into our final thoughts. Let's take this bad boy home, and then let's just reset, and then I don't know. Are we gonna? Do you want to record the Zoom call for the after show? We'll keep going. Like I'm gonna stop the Instagram and then turn it back on for a separate show. But do you want to stop the Zoom and then come back into the Zoom?
Oh, and
So it's
well,
two separate
guys hear
things.
me still
no,
on
because you
the?
can cut it. You can cut it wherever you want with the Zoom.
That's
Can
true.
you
Yeah.
guys still hear me on the Zoom call?
Yeah.
My microphone just bumped and like I can't. It's not working now, and it's not registering on my computer. So I don't know what's going on.
We can hear you though. What does
I know,
that,
but
what does that
I have a
microphone go
second
to?
microphone that just my main microphone.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Well,
Okay, I got you. Here we go. We're wrapping it up. Final
let's
thoughts.
take it home. Kalen, give us your final thoughts for the movie BASEketball, starring Trey Parker, Matt Stone, and Dian Bachar, as
I
well
almost
as
smoked my
Yasmin
pen.
Bleeth.
That's the danger of these things. I almost smoked my
Yeah,
pen.
but you can't take a draw off your fucking pen.
Yeah, you probably could. You probably fucking
No real
drink some ink.
downside.
Probably
Okay.
drink some ink, and then you get. Remember when Have you ever had kids in your class get their mouth exploded with ink?
Yeah,
I'm like,
it happened
how?
to me
Why?
one time. Okay,
Why?
we can talk about mouth explosions in the after show.
That was
Caleb,
perfect.
Liz.
Okay. Final thoughts. You know what? This movie made me laugh at moments. I think there was a combination of I'm older now and you know your taste matures or whatever. Also, watching it under a critical lens made it less funny as well. But there were still some funny moments. What I do like about this month is the progression. There definitely was a step up from this from the first two. The other interesting thing about that though is that this one wasn't written by them originally, right? Like they kind of built off of something. So it was also very, or not, I'm not sure very is the right way to say it, but it was definitely more palatable, I think is the word, where it was more, palatable to like a broader range of audience. You know what? Okay. I had fun. If I have to think about it, not as much fun. But what I will say is, if ever you don't want to think, or like, let's say you're on like the day afters of like, maybe smoking, maybe drinking, all the other things. And then like, you just like, I don't want to move, but I want something to be entertaining me. And then you chuck this on and you have a nice little giggle and you kind of zone in and out. And then you have another giggle and eventually shit's all good. I give this a big ass dick all the way down to the floor, as long as that means awesome. Otherwise, part of me feels that wouldn't be awesome. So maybe it might be better.
Tiny dick.
Well, do you know why? The like Greek or whatever statues of gods have, or pictures or whatever, have small penises?
Because the artists who carved them had small penises. I don't know.
There's a reason for this.
Two reasons. One, something about it was something about like you're being like having a big penis and being lustful was like less than being wise. It was like if you have a big dick, you have a small head or brain or whatever.
Yeah,
like
actually,
you're less wise or whatever. And then the other thing, the technical side of it is usually when they depict that shit, it's like some physical activity, right? And when you're doing a physical activity, your blood isn't in your penis, it's in the rest of your body. So your penis is smaller because you're being physically active.
Very educational.
See, welcome viewers.
This is Kalen's segment called Interesting as Fuck.
We also hit you with some knowledge. That way you can go and tell your teacher, hey, we had fun and learned.
Yeah, in Kalen's knowledge nook.
And those are my final thoughts.
Awesome. I'm just writing down Kalen's knowledge nook, and also I want the what happened in this universe after this movie ended recurring segment to be a thing, because I think we've missed.
Oh, what
happens next?
Can we Muppetize this? We forgot to bring back our semi-recurring.
Muppetizing.
I think that's a bad bit.
I don't think it's a bad bit, but I only think it works in specific situations, like like movies that are based off comic books. Like when we did Batman Returns, that could be Muppetized. And I think this is like fun to explore it being Muppetized.
They're already cartoon characters.
Exactly. So Steve, why don't you give us your final thoughts on the film? I guess it is a film because there's no explosions or car chases by my my criteria.
Well, he's driving a car.
It's not a car chase, and there's no explosions.
But he almost gets in a crash.
But he's not chasing anybody or being chased.
That's because it's super meta, and the meta god didn't want him to die.
There's
Kaylin.
also a giant penis, and he fake cuts off his finger, and one of them shoots milk out of their nipples,
And he
licks
drinks
a
Marlon
dildo in the
Brando's
first
ass
3
fat.
minutes of the movie.
I had a thing today where I finished watching. I watched the
ah.
last 45 minutes, the Marlon Brando part of Apocalypse Now, and then I watched this movie, which has Marlon Brando's ass
Nice.
fat liposuction from his ass.
Hilarious.
So
That was vile, and
So-
still is. I remember being so disgusted by that as a teenager, and then as an
What
adult,
about that
I still-
scene from Fight Club where it rips open and pours out? That's
Gross.
pretty nasty.
Yeah,
Steve,
they're
when-
equally as gross to me. Yes.
why don't you hit us with your final thoughts so I can speed run through my
final thoughts on BASEketball. I'd seen this movie many times as a teenager. I was part of a friend group that would quote it often. I usually, anytime my friends would be making, like our friends would make fun of each other all the time, as we do here. But I would often say, if you guys rag on me 13 or 14 more times, I am leaving. It always got a good chuckle because it's a funny line. But watching it again now, as we've said multiple times, your taste in comedy changes as you grow older, wiser. It takes a little bit more to get a rise out of you in terms of laughing. I rarely laugh out loud at stuff, but I did chuckle a couple times audibly during my watch of this movie. I don't think it's bad, but it's not something that I'm going to be recommending to like if somebody said they've never seen BASEketball, I wouldn't lose my mind over it. I'd be like, yeah, I don't know, it's kind of funny.
You gotta see it. You gotta.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm a tough sell on comedy in general.
I've noticed that about you, Steven.
Not to say that I'm completely humorless. I do appreciate comedy, and I think
You're hilarious.
there are plenty of funny movies. I don't know. I have a particular type of humor that needs to be like have a bunch of boxes checked in order for me to be like, that was a great comedy. But I also, like, for some reason, a comedy should still be treated like a movie. Like Edgar Wright movies, for example. Those feel like movies that have a lot of humor in them, and they're very funny, but they still feel like there's an appropriate narrative, and not everything is like super saturated in cartooniness. And I do like absurdist comedy here and there, like Wet Hot American Summer. Was one of my favorite comedies as a teen. I've watched it recently. It's still pretty funny. But that movie, again, like the narrative within there is so ridiculous that you immediately don't take it seriously, and in your brain you're just watching comedy, you're not watching a movie. And I think this movie kind of falls into that camp, right? Like everything is so ridiculous that from beginning to end, it's just like you're not going to take anything seriously or feel invested, really. That it's just there to make you chuckle, and that's kind of its job, and it doesn't really have anything else to do. With that said, I if people haven't seen it, I'm not going to tell them to rush out and find a copy and watch it. But at the same time, if somebody was going to ask me, would you recommend watching it? I would say, yeah, sure. It's fun. It's a fun movie. Definitely safe in terms of, triggering outdated humor. Like there is some of it, but it's not to the point where you're like, ugh, I can't believe there was a time where this was appropriate. What?
How did you guys watch this movie?
How did we watch it?
Yeah.
Watched it on television.
Did you R?
Yep, had to.
By R?
What did you do?
Sail the Seven Seas.
What did you do, Steven?
Did I watch the R rating of it? What do you mean?
No.
No, did you have to
how
sail?
you-
Did you
how
have to
you
sail
watch
the
it?
Seven
Oh
Seas?
yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's not on any streaming service. Like if I can find it,
I
and
think
rent
it's
it,
on
I'll do it,
Paramount.
but-
I think it might be on
So-
Paramount since they moved everything over to Paramount.
On that
Oh, I
note,
don't have
that's
that
why
streaming
I like
service.
I know.
having
Yeah,
physical
I'm
things,
just
right?
saying,
I like having physical things because whatever thing you subscribe to or whatever doesn't have it's not like nothing has everything. So the most cheap thing to do is just buy the things you want. Really.
I guess, yeah.
Well, that's what I
Because
do,
I'm
right? Like I'll
paying-
buy them digitally if I have the option, but I couldn't find this movie to buy.
Well,
anywhere.
that's true. That's true. Yeah, that's true.
So I didn't. I didn't do it because I couldn't do it. Anyway, at the end of the day, I will give this movie a shredded lazy boy out of.
Nice. Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Good.
Compared
I like that
to
a lot.
a brand new BASEketball.
That's good.
And take that for what you will.
That's perfect.
You got to
That
shred
is
your lazy
perfect.
boy to get the BASEketball, but the BASEketball's pretty good, whereas you've destroyed the cherry.
You give it a shredded Barcalandra out of a shredded lazy boy.
That was perfect. That was the perfect.
I didn't have that
I think I've
prepared. I
ever
was
heard.
like, as I was saying, I'm like, what am I going to compare it to? Shredded chair.
So I agree. I definitely agree with both of you. You both made some good points. There's not a lot to be said about this movie specifically, other than I hold it in high regard as a comedy I loved as a teenager. Steve, you're right. It's not a movie that I would be like, you got to see this. I was the person when I was even like 20 who's like, oh, you've never seen BASEketball? What are you doing with your life? I would never be that person now,
Trying to
but
get a higher education.
I would recommend this movie
Fuck it
to
up.
anybody that
Fuck it
likes
up.
South Park and has never seen it. I think this is worth watching once if you're a fan of comedy,
It's worth a watch for sure.
It feels really weird that South Park comes after this also in a weird way. This almost feels like
The movie.
It almost feels like, the bigger, longer, and uncut. This almost feels like this comes after the South Park movie in my head in a weird way. Maybe because I watched them in that order. Maybe because this is live action that's animated. I don't know,
Right.
but it's just odd to me. And I do agree this is the perfect. We know it in our friend group over here as a Sunday movie. Movies that you kind of put on when you're hungover. You just kind of put on and don't really. I watched Bad Moms in that specific way, and
I watched Bad Moms. That was worth a watch.
But it's worth a watch. I hated it,
Yeah,
but
that is kind of how I watch these sorts of movies nowadays. Like when this caliber of movie comes out, it's usually when I'm like in so much pain that I can't handle like a heavy narrative. So like I got to put something on that I really don't need to.
Well, it's easy to keep your attention on it for the most part because it does have a structure, but it does also have the lack of structure where there's just visual sight gags and there's little jokes and little dumb things to giggle at, whatever. And we covered it. Like I really feel bad that I may have overhyped it.
You didn't overhype anything. You didn't overhype anything.
But I still give it a 4 out of 5 as a comedy. Not in the grand scheme of all movies ever, but I do consider it a 4 out of 5 in my grand scheme of movies of all time ever, because I do skew. Excuse me.
That's not as big as a big ass dick that goes all the way down to the floor.
I do skew. It's true. I do skew more towards comedy as an interest, but through this experiment I've been doing for nearly 3 years now, I have watched a lot of really fucking good movies, like Leon the Professional versus BASEketball. I'm gonna recommend Leon the Professional. I'm sorry,
Well, it's not like we can have a deep conversation where with where the substance doesn't have a deep conversation aspect.
Yeah, at the end of the day, most of the conversations
could have a deep conversation if the content allowed it or whatever.
Yeah, I overloaded us.
These movies are mostly us elaborating on like how we feel about comedy in general, rather than the content of the movie
and the state of comedy in the era. Like the Trey Parker and Matt Stone on paper was a great idea, but in retrospect, I wouldn't even do like a Mel Brooks month. Like I would be more broad with trying to do a comedy.
I wouldn't be opposed to throwing one in. It's like
I think like
something that
doing directors is fun, but it's got to be an auteur director where their signature style is there visually. But the movies have more to work with.
Like John Carpenter. Exactly. John Carpenter, I would do another John Carpenter month. And if Trey Parker and Matt Stone had 4 more movies, I don't think I could recommend, unless they were fucking, awesome. Whatever. That's a bad example. Anyway, at the end of the day, 4 out of 5. I highly recommend this to anybody that's never seen it. And at the end of the day, Trey Parker and Matt Stone are geniuses when it comes to South Park, and the fact that they didn't even write or direct this, but they did kind of put their twist on it and made it something special. That's how I'll always regard it. It's a special comedy from the late 90s. Ladies and gentlemen, we did it. We got to the end of my birthday episode.
It was very hard.
It was very hard. We had a weird middle part of this show where, there was a bit of a off the rails moment, but I got us back on track.
Sometimes I drink alcohol.
Okay. So
I thought we were all going to drink alcohol.
Yeah, I'm drinking beers.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
Yeah, this fucking guy ordered beers that came in 4 minutes. So for, as always,
I had it. These speakers go to 11.
Yeah, it's true. As always, for Steven, for Kaylin, I'm Jason.
For Jason and Steven, I'm Kellen.
For Kaylin, for Jason, I am Steven.
And hey, I just got to ask one simple question. And that simple question, of course, is the question that's been on everybody's mind from the beginning of this podcast right down to the end of the podcast. It's very simple, you see. The question we want to ask and we want to know the answer to is, hey, did you see this one?
Hey, did you see this one?
Hey, did you see this one?
I swear to God, if you ask me if I've seen this one 13 or 14 more times, I'm out of here.